Good evening, everybody. My name's Tim Kelly. I'm Multi-Claiming Guru. Tonight, we're doing a session on business and business finance and on SEO optimization of websites. I'm going to explain some things around running a business and what there is that comprises of what you need to do to run a business. And Ant's just put me straight off what I'm doing there because he's entering in as we're doing it. If you run a business or you have a business, put your thumb up. Great. So we have a whole room full of people who run a business. So I'm going to work on the basis that you've got more than a general understanding of what you need to do to run a business if you're fairly experienced business owners, but I'm going to run through the basics as well.
Golden watermelon saves the day.
Can you put your phone on mute, Ant?
Yeah, sorry.
So running a business is hard, and one of the things that's hardest about running a business is that if you go into it uneducated and unprepared, it will absolutely maul you to death. It will have many a sleepless night. It will wear you to absolute death, and you might feel that you're running around in circles and getting nowhere. What you need to do before you even think about running a business is you need to do your research, and you need to work hard and understand what it is, not only that you want from the business, but what you want from life, which might sound a bit long in the wind and in the future, but the reason why you're in a business is you need to make money, and that money helps you have the life that you've got or what you want in the future, and ultimately that's your end goal. You know, the more money you make, the better lifestyle you've got. Understanding what you want from life is a key part in helping you understand what you want from your business, because it might be that you don't want lots and lots of hassle, grief and stress. You don't want to create a monster. Now, if your aim and goal is to be a multi-millionaire and have lots of body shops and you could have 300 or 400 staff, that's a big thing to design and manage. It takes a lot of input and a lot of planning. It could be that you just want to be a one-man band. You want to have the lowest amount of overheads that you've got whilst making the most amount of profit as you can and trying to be as efficient as possible. Me, that's what I do. I work from home. I sit in my office. I have very little overheads and I charge as much as what I can for my time. But within that, there are pros and cons of doing that, because I have issues in terms of how I scale my business. And the issues I've got in scaling my business is in terms of replicating what I do as me. I might need to bring people in to do that. It might be that I need to move out of my office and go somewhere else and actually have an office and employ people. To do this, I need different things. A key part of that is that because I've got very low overheads and it's just me in the business, technically I don't need that much capital around me to be able to let me do what I need to do. I can run very, very efficiently. If I've got a big business, it might be that I need to have capital and that I might need to look at additional means of funding that. So the people that we're going to bring in tonight, one of which is a gentleman called Paul Cranwell. He's a commercial finance broker at Magnum Money. So he'll be speaking later on. The other person we're bringing in as well is when I explain about what you need to run a business, and you need to understand how to market your business. A key way of doing that is that you need to have a website as the foundations of your business. And it should tell people what it is you do and the services you provide. And the more people who can find you on that platform, the better. And the best way of doing that is you need to make sure that your website is optimized in the best ways you can through SEO. And we've got an expert here who's Lee Davey, who's also kindly agreed to speak tonight. And he's going to explain to you about what SEO is, how to best utilize it on your website, and things that we need to be doing that's changed over the last few years. Because in my own website and the things that I do, I would say I'm an expert around SEO, and everything that I've done in the last 10 years where I've become an expert in has gone out the window. There's been a lot of changes in the last 12 months with the implementation of AI within different Google searches, and all the effort I put into my website to make sure it's easily found and the most searchable, so I was getting massive amounts of hits on it. It's changed completely. So I can't impress on you more than what I'd like to do tonight to make sure that you understand that making use of Lee is highly positive, highly beneficial, because we all need to learn from him. So leading into that, Lee, if you would, I'll make you administrator if I can do. I'll click you on, let you have the screen, and I'll make you. So when we get past this, if you make it back to me again, but I'm going to make you host on it. Actually, no, I'll make you co-host. We just need to let somebody else in as well.
Okay.
I'll just do that first of all. There we go. Just got Josh coming in. So are you going to be sharing your screen at all, by the way, Lee?
I will be. Yeah, I will indeed.
Great. Okay, I'll make you host then. If you just flick it back to me when you've done.
Okay.
So yeah, welcome, Lee.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me okay? A thumbs up will be fine. Perfect. Right. I'm going to share my screen in a minute. I think it makes more sense if I just share the screen without me in it, because then you'll be able to see more of what I'm doing. Right, can everyone see my screen? It should be full screen now. So basically, what on earth is SEO? And more importantly, how is it going to help your business? My aim tonight is not to sell my services. I mean, obviously, you feel free to get in touch. I'd be more than happy to help. My aim is to show you how you can take your own initial steps. Excuse me, I've got this cough that we've had for about a week in the household now. So trying to get through 20 minutes is going to be tough. So I've got some water with me. So you might have to bear with me a little bit. But it's how you can use free software to grow your own business, how you can look at your own competitors' websites and go from there. So brief introduction. My name's Lee Davey, as Tim said. I've been a freelance journo for 25 odd years. Now, importantly, I specialize in SEO for over 10 years. I've been fortunate enough to have been granted digital agency status from SEMrush, and I've worked in a ton of different sectors: publishing houses, travel, automotive, leisure, manufacturing, retail, insurance, mobility, tourism, to name a few. And the people on the right are some of the people that I've worked with. Now, this talk I'm giving now, I've originally gave it for Dorset Growth Hub. Obviously, I'm down in Dorset, and I give talks to small businesses here, and I've done some online workshops aimed at helping people grow their own businesses. So the two quotes here, brilliant quotes, have to use these. So Tim touched upon growing and scaling your business. Now, Simon from Action Coach, the top quote there, that is what he specializes in, growing and scaling. So if you're thinking 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line, you want a business that you can sell to retire with, or maybe you want to get to the point where you've got several body shops, managers in, and then you can live off the income, that is what they do. Now, he gave a great quote that I've used many times. They don't offer SEO services, but he said the first step to growing or scaling your business is to sort your SEO. And I'll put you on the first steps of doing that yourself.
Lee, just 1 second. Just make sure it's recorded on cloud on your system, because I think it's changed when it's changed from me. Just look on your bottom toolbar at the bottom. It'll say record. Just make sure it's recording.
Yeah, it says so.
Yeah, okay. Carry on then. We'll just change it off makeup. Sorry about that.
That's okay, not a problem. Another great quote. This one came from Sunnybird PR. Again, she gave a talk at Dorset Growth Hub. She said, are you working on your business or are you working in your business? Now, the great distinction there is that are you growing it or are you solely on the tools? Now, you've got to decide what you want to do and what works for you. Obviously, it's a very personal thing, but if you're looking at growing, you might want to work on it, not necessarily in it. Oh, something changed on the admin, Tim. I can't scroll down the screen anymore.
It's just, I don't know what it's doing. It should be okay.
Okay.
I mean, that's on your screen rather than mine with it. So
Yeah.
I can see your black arrow moving about. Will it go down to your arrow at the bottom?
Yeah.
So you can move your page next. There.
Hey.
Yeah.
Look at that. We're all learning something tonight.
All right. There we go. I'll just mute yourself.
Perfect. So what is SEO? Basically, SEO stands for search engine optimization. All it is being discoverable online. Obviously, there are a few tools and techniques, but that's it. It is just being found online. So why SEO? I mean, are you looking to grow your business or change direction? Perhaps you do a lot of trade work. Are you looking to get more into the restoration? Is trade work tricky? Are you looking to go more into the accident repair work? Are you looking to cover all bases? SEO can do that. Because research shows that SEO can drive traffic 1,000% more effectively than organic social media, and 60% of marketers highlight inbound strategies such as SEO as their primary tool. Now, I won't necessarily go through all of the stats on that page there. You can go back with the YouTube that Tim's recording, but it just underlines why SEO could work for you. But before I move on, I'll just mention that bottom one. Now, this comes from Google. Now, if ever you've run Google Ads, that means you have the sponsored links at the top. 20% of people will click on those links. 80% of the people who've searched for a specific term will prefer to go through onto the organic traffic. Now, that would be a great statistic for one of the leading SEO software companies to come up with, but that is from Google. So this page here, this probably dates back 2 years, but the reason I'm using this is because it underlines perfectly where some people may be if they're not really looking into digital that hard at the moment and they're working in their businesses, not necessarily on their business. So this was a guy who approached me, small to medium-sized company, doing okay. He got to the point he's thinking, I want to grow some more. He got in touch because he didn't really know where he was in the marketplace in relation to his level of business compared to his competitors. So if we look at the top, organic traffic, his website was getting 131 hits a month. And that follows on with the graph at the bottom. There's a green line. That's his organic traffic. It's fairly flat-lined. It was climbing a little bit. He also tried to go for Google Ads as well. You can see that blue spike on that blue graph. Now, he was pumping $3,000 a month into that. And you can see how quickly it grew, but importantly, how quickly it tailed off afterwards. Now, as I normally say to people, who are your 3 largest competitors? And we'll analyze where they are, and you can see where you sit in the marketplace. So he gave me the details of a business who are a little bit larger than him, not by much, but by his own admission, had been doing a better job than him organically. Bearing in mind, he had 131 hits a month. His competitors had nearly 35,000 hits a month, purely driven from content. Now, they had made a really nice job of the content, and you could see on that green graph there just how much it was growing. Importantly, the blue line at the bottom, 0 money spent on Google Ads. That's purely driven by content. So the content that they had written and that they had put on their website, if they were to pay for that content for the keywords, it would cost them, 132 grand. So that just shows how much organic content, SEO content, can drive stuff. So how do they work? I mean, Google has programs called crawlers that go around and they will discover the content you've put on your website. You can ask it to be crawled. If it's out there and you haven't put a redirect on it, it will find it anyway. Don't worry too much about it. But content's king. You need to get your content right, and I'll come to the reasons why shortly. So these are the SEO fundamentals. I won't hang around on here. I don't know what level people are with SEO. I'm presuming, this talk is probably from an entry level. But if you come back to this page, you can freeze frame this and you look at the different bits and research each section of it. So step 1, I cannot underline the importance of this enough. This will make a cup of tea, get a couple of biscuits, sort your own local SEO. If you go onto my website, there's a guide there, local SEO. Go through that. Takes about 20 minutes. You don't need to pay anyone to do it. And the reason for sorting your local SEO is to make you discoverable in your local area. So here's a screen from a couple of days ago. I put in car restoration near me and it pops up here. If you haven't got a Google profile, people will not be able to find you or where you are. And it's 20 minutes, get some pictures, put some content in, put your name, address and phone number, make sure it matches with everything else, and you're sorted. Another important aspect is Google reviews. I mean, hands up if anyone uses Google reviews at the moment. Again, I cannot underline the importance of this enough. If you look on the left, you'll see some of the people here have got reviews there. I think the golden rule is if you've got more than 5, it's a ranking metric. If you've got probably more than 20, it's a serious ranking metric. Now, some of the people that I deal with have got sort of hundreds or thousands of Google reviews, and they are pretty much unstoppable at the moment. Create your own Google review strategy. So if people have come in and they've collected a car, you could have business cards made up with a QR code that Google would give you. And you could say, do you know what, as a small business, it would mean a lot if you could leave a review here. All you do is you scan this on your phone. If you're happy, leave a 5-star, comment below, and it would mean the world to us. And importantly, it's free and takes seconds. So create a strategy where you can get your Google reviews. Now, motor trade wise, this is a biggie. Tim mentioned the changes that have been made recently. Excuse me while I have a drink, try and get my voice back. Google's EEAT. Now, this has made quite drastic changes in the motor trade. So much so that the biggies like SEMrush and SE Ranking, they've run online workshops aimed solely at the motor trade. Now, I'm not just talking your car sales boys, I'm talking the main dealers as well. This has hit them pretty hard. If your website traffic has dropped and you haven't adopted an EEAT policy, this probably understands why. But it's not difficult to do. You can do it yourself. Even if words aren't your thing, Tim touched upon AI earlier, you can use AI to your advantage, but with caution. We'll come to that in a minute. So EEAT, it stands for experience. What experience do you have? Expertise, do you have certificates, credentials? Not just you, but your employees, company as a whole, that sort of thing. Authoritativeness. Have you been cited in magazines or industry publications? I'm sure I saw that Sonny has recently. Obviously, Tim has. I saw him talking to Matt on Watchdog the other night. All of this is stuff that you can use. So we'll use Tim as an example here. I'm sure his website contains his credentials, experience, expertise. But if you included on there a section where, do you know what, you've been used, join Watchdog to talk about the insurance industry, blah, 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 link their website through, possibly mention Matt Allwright as well. All of that will be registered by Google, and it's another tick for your experience and expertise. This is a biggie for the motor trade. If words aren't really your thing, you could go onto ChatGPT. You could say, I run a car restoration business. I want to create something for Google's EEAT. That stands for experience, expertise, authoritative, trustworthiness. I've been in the business 30 years. I have these credentials. Frank, who works in the business, has done this. List it all, and it will put something nice together for you. The big thing is make it yours. Personalize it, humanize it. Do not cut and paste it. We'll come to that why in a minute. So if you only take 2 things away from tonight, it's Google Business and Reviews, Google's EEAT. They will make a huge difference to your business. So where are you in the marketplace? Unless you're on top of this with Google Analytics or Search Console or some of the SEO software out there, you may not know. So I'll use TUI as an example. So if I am a large travel operator and I'm thinking, where am I? TUI seem to be doing rather well. How many hits are their website getting? SEO software will allow you to have a sneak behind that curtain. Think of it a bit like the Wizard of Oz. You can see exactly what they're up to. It's not as accurate as Google Analytics, like your GA4s. It uses clickstream data and then third-party software to measure that, but it gives you a fairly accurate prediction of how much traffic they're getting compared to how much traffic you're getting. Now, if anyone's got a pen and paper out there, write down Uber Suggest, because that is free software. Yeah, I'm sure Tim's used that. I can see a thumb going up. That's free. If you have a Google account, you can log in with your Google account. It will give you, I can't remember, I haven't used it for a little while, 3 or 5 searches a day for free. It's not that many. It's not that, it's not the sort of thing that would be enough for me. But if you're looking yourself, you can look at your own website, and you can then look at your competitor's website. And if memory serves me correctly, you can scroll down and it'll probably show you the top 5 pages that your competitors rely on the most. What is driving traffic to their website when it could be driving traffic to your website?
I just interject there.
Mm.
So moving on from that, if you Google Uber Suggest, but also Google Neil Patel, if you go onto YouTube, he does loads and loads of free training videos on SEO, on website development, around marketing, advertising, and absolute genius. So when I first started off, like I said, I've spent ages doing my own website and got the SEO so it ranks brilliantly. I was getting between 25 and 30,000 page hits a month on it, and I don't advertise in terms of Google ad clicks or anything like that. Uber Suggest is brilliant. So trying to find things that what people will use as a search term as an alternative to what other people search, and having that as content on your website is an amazing thing to do. But also, Lee, I don't know if we're going to go into this on the next bit on it, but can you also explain the relevance of backlinks to people as well?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Also, if you are on there, Neil Patel, Uber Suggest, does a good free newsletter. He's probably pumping out 1 a day at the moment. Register for that as well. Some of it might not be relevant, but he's got some really good snippets and he's got a good way of summarizing it as well. So again, it's a great tool to have. So the screenshot here that I'm showing is from SEMrush. I'm going to be, if the cost of SEMrush, you could rent a 3-bed mid-terrace north of the M4 for the amount of money that you're going to spend on SEO software. So Uber Suggest is a great way to sort of dangle your feet in the water for free. So competitor comparison. Tools like SE ranking, this is where this page comes from. It will show you keywords. Tim touched upon keywords earlier. Basically, if people are searching for a term, like the term we used earlier was car restoration near me, that is a long-tailed keyword. And you can see this example here is for learner driver car insurance. So if you are Collingwood, for example, and you want to see where you are in the marketplace, the graphs on the right will show you that Vago really are the ones to watch. The green bit shows how many keywords they've got, the blue bit, how much traffic they're getting from it. It's quite often you're doing well if you've got a 50-50 mix. Vago are obviously doing a really nice job optimizing the content they have. So common keywords. Again, we're using the learner driver people here. This will show you with your competitors what keywords you all have and where you sit in that marketplace. So if we look at the top thing, people are searching booking a driving test. Collingwood are 76th, they've dropped 10 places. Well, you're not going to get anything from that whatsoever. But if you look at the right, temporary car insurance, we have Vago, 3rd position, they're up 1. They're on the climb. They're going to get some traffic off the back of that. And these tools will allow you to work out how much traffic keywords get as well. Now, I mentioned earlier that some tools will let you look at your competitors to see what traffic they're getting and what levels of traffic they're getting for certain keywords. So this is for the Marmalade website. In relation to content, thinking outside the box here, it's good for me because I've been a freelance journalist for 25 years. All of my staff, I think the main positive for me for SEO is that whenever I'm dealing with editors from newspapers, I always have to have that hook to hang a story on. And this applies here because you want people to click on it, you want to work out what's popular, and you want people to read it. You don't want to put a 1,500 word article up, people are on it for 10 seconds and click off. That's no good for you at all. But if you look down here, what does a full car service include? You might not automatically place that content with someone who offers learner driver car insurance, but they're getting 1,800 hits a month off that one piece of content. How to apply for a UK provisional license, 1,700 hits a month. Can you take your driving test your own car? 1,600 hits a month. So this content is really working for them. So you've got to think what content is going to work for you, because it can drive some serious numbers. So if you've looked at your competitors, you've identified what keywords or what content topics might work for you, you need to know how your website is, how healthy your website is. Now, this page here is from SE Ranking, but Uber suggests free tool. It will give you a free website audit. So this will give you a health score, like on the top left, 85%, and it will also list any errors you may have. Don't think for a second that your website's going to be error-free. I've never found a website that's error-free. Don't stress it. Even if you have a health score of 30%, don't worry. This will tell you the bits to work on. You can sit down, you can make a cup of tea, get your bourbon biscuits out, and you can work through 10 of those problems. Job done. You're making progress. And you can do it yourself or in-house. So planning content, what keywords work for you? And importantly, what's working for your customers? So if you're looking at car restoration, perhaps you specialize in 356 Porsches, that sort of thing. You can work out your specialist content, whether it's metalwork, whether it's paint, trimming, whatever it may be. Now, you will know what your customers ask you probably better than anyone. You've got the Notes app on your phone, make a note on the Notes app. If you've got a pen and paper in your top drawer on your desk, jot them down. They will come in incredibly useful later. And if you're on a roll, just keep jotting down those ideas for future use. Make your content readable, make it add value. People are searching for an answer to something. Answer their question for them and help them out. Obviously, you want to steer them back to your business, but they're not going to go that far if your answer isn't adding value to them. And also, to maximize your return on investment, what I tend to do is, if I'm creating content, I will also think about what elements can be used on social media. Can we use it in email and newsletter? So it's not just one piece of content. It's got a good shelf life to it. So keyword research, all of the tools will do this. Free Uber Suggest will do it. So say, for example, you've gone for Aviva approved repairers. If I include content on my website about becoming, or I am, an Aviva approved repairer, how much traffic is it going to bring to my website? It hasn't got to be that. It could be absolutely anything. It could be full repaints. It could be bodywork. It could be back to that 356. It could be anything at all. Whatever your business specializes in, or what you would like it to specialize in, do your keyword research. It takes seconds. So I bunged in Aviva approved repairer, and it tells me this month 140 people searched for that term. Now, when I go through, you see those little blue lines there, I can't click, so it's obviously PowerPoint. It will tell me that up to 170 people each month, depending on the time of year, look for it. So if you look at it and you think, do you know what, May's a busy month. Why are 170 people a month looking for Aviva approved repairers? Time your content with that month, put it out a month before so it's got time to index and rank, and then you can use that on social media and email newsletters for it to go out at a time when more people are looking for it. Now, these SEO tools will also tell you how difficult it is to rank. 5 out of 100. As it says at the bottom, effortless. I would almost argue that if you put a brief into ChatGPT to say, can you create content for me being an Aviva approved repairer, it would likely get you on that first page. Again, humanize it, personalize it, do not cut and paste. I'll show you why in a minute, the dangers of that. ChatGPT content, even if you humanize it and personalize it, probably only ranks 30–40%. For what I do, I look for 95% minimum to outrank competitors' posts. So if you've got a 5 out of 100 score, you stand a good chance. FAQs. So we're back to the learner drivers here. Frequently asked questions always rank well. You can look at the amount of traffic on the right there. So learner driver car insurance, 40,500 people look for that a month. How much is insurance for a learner driver? 590. That will apply to any topic or any traffic that you are looking for yourselves. So do your keyword research. Again, Uber Suggest is a free tool and it will let you do that, as will Google. Now, if you've ever searched for something on Google, there's a section there, normally comes up, people also ask. So obviously I'm still on learner driver car insurance here, but if you've gone through car restoration, trade work, whether it's metal work, approved repairers, chances are, if you just put that into Google, scroll down, it will say people also ask. Make a note of these questions, answer those questions, because if Google's flagging that people want it, they are waiting for answers there. Again, utterly free to do that. Again, this is probably quite, I won't say it's an advanced bit of SEO, but it's maybe beyond where we are at the moment. Again, I'm happy to come back with a more advanced dig into SEO. If so, get in touch with Tim, let him know. But this is how to structure it. You're probably better served at the moment coming back, taking a picture of this screen on your phone, whatever it may be, and that will just tell you how to structure your content. You know, basic things like use the keyword in the title and within the first 100 words. Yeah, brilliant. And then you put your headings, which are the H1s, H2s, H3s, and so on and so forth. Again, back to what Tim said earlier with Neil Patel, his YouTube channel will tell you how to structure it and the importance of doing so. There's no point putting your content up there if you haven't structured it accordingly, because it won't do what you want it to do. Yeah, AI, we've touched upon this. Yes, it affects my work. Sometimes it affects me positively. I like using people using AI, because when they cut and paste content, it drives their website traffic down. It can do a lot of the heavy lifting, ChatGPT, but there are pitfalls. As I've said many times, never cut and paste AI content. It should only serve as a rough draft. Make it yours, personalize it, humanize it. Just look at what it's put there and make it all about you. Write it in your own language, use your own words, because if you get obvious AI content, now Google will undoubtedly know you're using AI. It's not necessarily a bad thing depending on how you're using it. But if I can read content and think, yeah, that's got the certain rhythm or cadence of AI, you know, it's not going to be great. And I'll show you why, I think, on the next slide. Yeah. So if you remember that first slide I showed you where the chap said, I don't know where I am, the digital marketplace, can you please tell me? And his competitors, you know, were doing a far better job than he was at the time. This was another competitor he asked me to look at. He said, can you look at these? Because they've come from nowhere. He said, I've been in this game in this area for quite some time. This company have come from nowhere, and at the moment they seem to be everywhere. He said, that said, I haven't seen them for about the last month on anything digital. So they came in strong. That graph there, that's quite the climb. They continued to climb. It was a little bit lumpy bumpy, and then it absolutely fell off a cliff, and it never returned after that. Now, I ran that through, I thought my AI, my SEO software was playing up. I ran it through 3 different types of software, and it all gave me the same result. And it's only when I used my Mark 1 human eyeball on their content section and read it, it all had that AI cadence to everything. So it had ranked initially, it had a few lumpy bits, dropped off, never to return. Use it as a framework. Again, if you're going to take away a few things, it's only ever use AI as a framework if you are using AI at all. So AI overviews. Now, I'm sure we've all seen these. It doesn't matter what you're Googling, whether you're looking for, I don't know, a Suzuki V-Strom, whether you're looking for paint supplies, anything at all, Google increasingly is using AI overviews to try and answer your question itself, rather than pointing you in the direction of, let's say, auto spray. That is you, isn't it, Sonny? Let's say people are looking for auto spray. and you've put some content in there aimed at driving traffic towards your website, on certain keywords, Google will try and answer that question on the searcher's behalf. It won't necessarily, unless your content's really good and it's listed in there with that AI overview. So it's sort of dropping traffic off. Some SEO companies are listing 0-click strategy. We want clicks. So I do things slightly differently. We are looking at keywords that aren't necessarily affected by AI overview, or if they are, how well are we ranking in there? But that is well down the line of where we are at the moment. So it's all content that's being used by ChatGPT, LLMs, which are large language models, and they will synthesize that information. It can be used if your content is exceptional. You know, I talked about 95% ranking. If you are being referenced in the AI overview, brilliant. You know, we've had some lovely traffic off the back of that, but you really, really have to work at that. AI, it's as good as it is bad. So SEO and social media. Now, 5-10 years ago, I used to offer social media as well as part of what I do. Now I'm purely SEO, judging just how strong SEO is at the moment. Whenever a company is looking at new marketing, SEO is very much up there at the moment. So social media, I take a little bit of a back foot on, but it can be a brilliant way to boost your website traffic. So if you are in Lancashire, for example, you've created some brilliant content about restoration of cars, metalwork, whatever it may be, you can use that to target people in your local area. Now, Facebook is a scary thing. If you cast your mind back to that Cambridge Analytica debacle that Facebook had a little while ago about the information that they hold. Now, for legal reasons, obviously, I'm sure they didn't hold any of that, just in case the lawyers are watching, but Facebook know an awful lot. They will know your age, your demographic, they will know where you live, what your hobbies are, who you're friends with, everything. And from that, they can put a pretty good picture together of what your interests are. So if you're advertising, you can try an advert on Facebook for a tenner, 20 quid, and it can make the world of difference. You can split target to see what works for you. Again, there are videos that would explain that. I could be here for an hour explaining that to you. If you're looking at giving your website a boost, if it's been neglected or it's new, it can be a great way to drive those initial traffic sources. Now, also, weirdly, SEO practices apply to social media posts and descriptions. Now, YouTube's a great example of this. Now, Gavin Pink has been putting some brilliant YouTube videos up. He's got some lovely stuff in there. I think the last one I saw was a Mark 1 escort he was doing. You can SEO your description on YouTube because YouTube is an enormous search engine in itself. It's no coincidence that if you're Googling something, you will always see YouTube videos posted at the top as suggestions. Now, I don't know if Gavin's watching or if anyone knows him here. Ask him to look at SEOing or optimizing his descriptions in his YouTube videos. So if he is doing a Mark 1 Mexico, do some keyword research. Put in Mark 1 Escort, put in car bodywork, put in Novel paint system, whatever it may be. If he puts that in, does his keyword research, bases his description around that, again, ChatGPT could do some heavy lifting. Again, humanize it, personalize it. Just look at the difference it can make. It is another search engine that you can leverage. So if social media is your thing, you're looking to drive business with YouTube as well as your website, look into that. That can work incredibly well. So technical, it's not all about the content. We touched upon site audit earlier. Run a site audit, see where you are. There's no point putting good content up there if you've got a million different errors. So address some of those. It's a bit like if you were thinking, I'm going to drive up to Edinburgh, but my car only runs on 3 cylinders. It's that principle. Get that working first, and then your content will rank as it should. I'm sure if you have a website that you're using HTTPS, which is a secure version of HTTP. If you're not sure, go into your website, look at the top. It will say something like HTTPS : then your website. Have a look, make sure it's got the S. That has been a ranking signal since 2014. So yeah, if you're not there, you really need to be. Ensure your website is, ensure your website is mobile friendly. Google uses mobile first indexing because over 60% of all searches are on mobile devices. So how many of you have been out and you think, where's a restaurant near me? You've looked for something on your phone. Over 60% of people are doing that. And it's not uncommon for people to be sat at home on the sofa, telly's on, maybe your other half's watching something you don't like. You think, let's have a look at car restoration. Yeah, make sure it is mobile first, mobile ready, because mobile searches are growing. So how do you measure your SEO performance? Now, your SEO software package, that might be SEMrush, Ubersuggest, SE Ranking, Moz, RS, whatever it may be, you can set up a project and it will then follow your website to see where you are. You can automatically schedule audits. Now that's Ubersuggest as well, free. It's not as you haven't got as many toys as you have with SEMrush and SE Ranking, but as I say, the price of those is stratospheric. Google Analytics, completely free. If you have created your Google business profile, register for analytics as well, link it to your website. Brilliant tool, completely free, as is Google Search Console. So do those as well. Back to those software packages, I will just say that if you are to the point, you're further down the line with your SEO, you know, you're making waves and you're thinking of subscribing to some of your SEMrushes and your SE Ranking. Now, the cost of this, if you want some toys, can be well in excess of £500 a month. You know, Christ, I'm on 3 of these platforms. So you'd probably be better off, you know, getting someone in for that money who will have access to that software anyway, and you will then be able to get them to look at your website, create content for you for the same price as you would have done for the software. Hasn't got to be me, could be anyone in your local area, someone that's been recommended, but I just thought I'd put it out there to say, if you're thinking of spending 100, 200, 300 quid a month, you might be better served getting somebody who knows their way around the software and could possibly create something for you in that figure. Now, the algorithm, I mean, you know, that changes all the time. If you are looking at Neil Patel's email newsletters, algorithms are mentioned frequently. Again, he will show you what the changes are, as will SEMrush.com. SEMrush, arguably the world's #1 for SEO. There are changes. Don't stress it. There's always changes. The 2 major changes recently, EE80, which has hammered the motor trade a bit, and also the AI overviews. Just trying to find my mouse. Oh, come on, mouse, where are you? There we go. So don't forget, it can take time for content to rank. Now, if you have a new or a fairly neglected website, it could take 6 months to rank. Don't stress it. If it takes longer, don't stress it. Now, I wrote some content for someone who'll do regularly, and I've done for 7 or 8 years. Putting my journo hat on, I knew the content was timely. I knew it was going to be on the money. We wrote it before anyone else did. We knew the keywords were good. Put it on at 4 o'clock, 11 o'clock next day, it was ranking. It had already been picked up by some new syndicates and it flew. But if you're putting normal content up, you know, and you're just dipping your toe in that water, don't stress it. It will take time. You know, you think digital, it's going to be, you post something, you put the kettle on, the kettle's boiled and it will rank. No, you know, it does take time. Don't worry. But if you want to keep Google, if you're another ranking signal, is upload new content on a regular basis. Now, by regular, might be once a month. Just do it on a regular basis. Google will then recognize you as being a regular contributor. And if you are uploading good quality content that people are liking, it will love you even more. And importantly, let's not forget, don't get left behind. It's not just you doing this, it's going to be everyone out there. Because 92% of all searches are conducted on Google. So if you're not looking at traffic or creating a strategy to grow or scale your business, other people may be. It depends what you want. It's all a personal thing. You might not want to, you might be happy where you are. But if you are looking at growing, expanding, being a bit more resilient to some of the changes in the motor trade, You know, you can do this yourself. If you go back, watch this, all of these steps you can take yourself. And obviously, if you do need a hand, you know, I'm there for you. It's not a problem. So an obvious plug for me, you know, if you will indulge me, my website is leedavy.co.uk. I have written some guides on there. They are free. You haven't got to sign up to the newsletter to get them. You haven't got to register, nothing. Click on there. It will tell you how to sort your local SEO. It will tell you why it's beneficial for your business. None of this is pointed back at me. You don't need to do anything or buy anything. Nothing. It's all on there. Obviously, I'm in it for the views. Of course I am. Back to the Google strategy as well. Tonight I added a link on there to Google reviews. Now, the reason I've done that is because I've just changed it to a verified Google review account, and I'm building my reviews on there. So if you have found this helpful and you have less than a minute to spare and it costs you no money, as I said earlier on, feel free to go on there. You know, I would greatly appreciate a 5-star review and a few kind words. You know, it massages my fragile male ego. So, you know, feel free, fill your boots there. And, you know, if we need to do anything else in the future as a part 2, recap a few things, answer questions, you know, I'm all ears. And yes, that final slide just says a huge thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Lee. That was very informative. Can you just click on my profile on the 3 dots and then just put me as admin again, please, mate?
Yeah, I'm glad you told me how to do that, because this is not Teams, this is Zoom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which bit am I looking for here? I've gone 3
So if you go
dots.
to my profile,
Yep.
and then it'll say mute and then have 3 dots. And then if you click on that, it should then put me back as administrator again.
Okay.
Has it done it?
No, I don't think so. I can see a host of different things. I'll make host. There we go. Is that the one we're after?
Yeah, that's the one, make host.
Brilliant. I mean, that underlines my technical know-how perfectly, doesn't it? There we go. Lovely. We're there,
Cool.
aren't we?
Oh, there you go. Got it back. Yes, thank you very much for that. Has anybody got any questions for Lee at all? So you gotta say, if you want to take a 2-minute break for if anyone needs a Lee or anything like that, I can pause it for a second before I go into part 2. We introduce Paul.
Yeah, it is a bit machine gun fire. There's a lot to take in there. It'll probably be one of those things where you wake up at 3 in the morning, you go, keywords. What keywords would be relevant to my business? All that sort of thing.
I've been absolutely there. Like I said, I spent a long time learning about websites and SEO, because I started off where I was made redundant, had some money, and I had to work out whether to spend it or spend my time. And when I realized how much it was going to cost me to actually spend money creating a website and understanding SEO, because I had the time, I spent time learning it and researching it. And it is absolutely invaluable to your business and to your website to make sure that you need to be found, basically.
Yeah.
People don't know you're there, they're never going to find you, they won't use you. So you need to get found, and your website's the best platform to do that, because it's a foundation for it.
Yeah, the action coach described SEO as being sort of the backbone to your website, with anything else sort of built on top of that. So if you haven't got that structure quite right, then it's not going to work as you intended.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as you. I had action coach as well. I had action coach for 2 years, so I'm well down that line. So if anybody got any questions at all for Lee?
Yeah, I've got one. Just the EEAT that you mentioned about the algorithm. What would we include that in? Are you saying include that in a bio, or include that in every post that we put up? Or
that is a good question. One I should have answered at the time, but didn't. So I am glad you brought that up. If it was me, create a different page. If you've got an About Us page, create a link off the About Us. You know, and it could be, you know, why choose us? All it has to be is a page that would naturally fit into your About Us section. It could solely be your About Us section that will list all that sort of stuff. When you then create your content, put at the bottom, written by the, sorry, Sam, I'm going to use you again, written by the Auto Spray team, link that Auto Spray team, written by, back to your About Us page, or back to the EEAT page, because Google will then look at that as a ranking signal to say, oh, geez, do you know what? These guys know their stuff, because, you know, they've been in the business 30 years. They use whatever paint, you know, all the sort of credentials that you will have.
yeah.
So not only is it good for your customers, But Google will look at that as well, and they think there's a reliable source. We'll use them down the line for for a reference for signals.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. I'm glad you brought that up.
Anybody else? If you ever, can you put your hand up for us? Go on, Sonny.
Lee, so you mentioned about you using percentage to sort of like mark how good content is. So you mentioned about 95%. Where are you getting those percentages from? Is that rankings from your software, like your Uber suggests and things like that, or?
Yeah, I don't think Uber suggests do it. It's SEMrush. It's under their writing assistant. Now, of course, that only comes under their Guru package. Their minimum Guru package is about 250 quid a month. It depends what level of stuff you want to do. If you're starting off at a basic level, if anyone's on here, am I going to be able to do this? Yeah, if anyone's written some content, I have a certain set limit of the amount of stuff that my packages will do, but I think I can check 50,000 words on that. So I'm sure no one's going to write 50,000 words. If anyone's got any content here, if I got time, I'll gladly go through and give you a ranking. How many people have we got on, Tim, on this chat?
We did. I think someone dropped off. We had 17 on it before, and we've now got 12.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, I can cope with a dozen. So if anyone's here tonight, I will look at your content, rank it for free. It won't charge you anything. I don't feel obliged to do anything further down the line. This is just solely to get you on that path.
I've just created some content, Lee. So would it be okay to send something over to you?
Of course, yeah. My email is lee@leedavey.co.uk.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, ping it across. I'll have a look. Do you know how many words it is roughly?
No idea.
Right. I mean, as a rough, I mean, this is incredibly rough, and it will depend on a million different variables. But it's a minimum of 1,000 words, 1,500 words to rank effectively. You need to include some FAQs in there, that sort of thing. But have a look through. Yeah. But I'll gladly have a look. Ping it through. If I glance at it and I think it needs work here, I won't run it through. I'll just give you some pointers. You can ping it back, and then I'll run it through.
Okay, thank you, Lee.
All right.
Any more questions for Lee already? Right, so we're going to move on to the second session tonight, or second part of our session. I'd like to introduce Paul. So when I was explaining to you at the start of this session about why it's important to understand about running a business and what things you need that constitute all the different elements of it, one of the best pieces of advice that I was given, which I haven't used, which is a general one, I've got a friend who runs an insurance company, and she's done very, very well for herself. It took her a long amount of time to do it. And one of the things that I've done through my education around running businesses is that I surround myself with people who are successful. And when I can, I question them. And the question that I asked her was that if there's one thing that you could actually teach yourself going back 10, 15 years ago about what do you think you should have done, what would it have been? And the advice she gave me was that she said to me that she wished that she had looked at funding at the start of her journey, because she's trying to develop her business organically and self-fund it. And she said that had she gone away and found somebody to invest in her or look at alternative means of financing a business, it would have potentially allowed her to grow a lot further, a lot quicker, a lot faster than what she did do. I met Paul a few months ago and we got chatting, and within our conversations, I found the conversations absolutely fascinating. He's an absolute guru in finance, without a doubt. So I wanted to kind of ask Paul you some questions at the start of it as well. Just first thing I'd like you to do is introduce yourself. But you're a broker of finance, and I said I want to talk about you. So what makes you different as a broker in finance that will help the audience that we've got here?
I think the big difference, and one of the reasons that I became a broker, is because I've been running my own business or been a director of a business for 30 odd years. And one of the things I experienced is I've merged companies. I've had my own company where I've had to raise money. I've been in that situation where I've had to pay the VAT man, but not been able to pay my mortgage because my suppliers hadn't paid me on time. And I've had to live through it. But most of the lenders I used to talk to, I always felt they had little empathy or understanding of how entrepreneurs think and work, that they often just thought we were stupid. So I've come into this as an entrepreneur, but actually I take a vision now that when everybody I work with, I'm looking at it from a long term, what's the best thing for you, not where can I make the most money. So it's more about me understanding where you're at, and even though I've never run a car repair business or a body shop or paint spray type thing, I actually know people that do, and I've been working with the automotive industry for years, but I've also been working with retailers, manufacturers, builders, you name it. So I have a really good understanding of the pressures that you're under. So I think what makes me different is that I'll come to you and I'll talk to you about what I think you need. But it's interesting because the hardest times I had in my own businesses is when I was underfunded. I went into it with too little money. So actually understanding that as well is really helpful from the beginning.
So for those that don't know, and I'm one of them people, so can you explain to me what a finance broker is and what you do and what your background knowledge is in terms of how you're utilising that within your services?
Yeah. So, I mean, in essence, if you think about, you've probably all bought insurance over the years, probably from a broker. So you deal with insurance companies, but you'll go through, a consumer. Compare the Market is a typical. In essence, they're a brokerage. They're just automated. You just ask a load of questions, and then it tells you what's available. Um, the best thing about a good broker is that if you've got a broker working with you for finance, they'll get to know you, they'll get to understand your business, and they'll be proactive, and they'll be talking to you and your accountant and working on the best ways to actually, what kind of money do you need? But then I've got access to over 200 lenders for all different reasons. And some of the lenders we go to, you won't have access to because there's a lot of lenders that will only work through brokers. So it means I've got access to a lot of different money products that perhaps you wouldn't think of.
So when I look at running a business myself and I look at what money I have and need, and then also from not understanding how to run a business whatsoever, because it might be that I've been a technician coming into a business, or it might be an established business owner. What things do business owners need to learn about running a business, and then how does that fall into the services that you provide?
Well, I mean, actually, last time we spoke, Tim, you talked about the E-Myth book, which is it's an amazing book, and I'm sure I don't know if you've all known Tim a long time, but he's probably talked about it in the past. But the reality is that we don't often get into, I doubt if any of you left school thinking, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and work in the car industry and I'm going to start a body shop. We often fall into most industries by accident. And so what happens is we're often just not prepared. No, we don't necessarily we don't go to business school and say, what's the framework I should have? So one of the good things to think about is surround yourself with people you trust who have speciality knowledge. So for instance, like meeting you today, Lee, is really helpful because immediately I'm going, oh, here's a guy, he can talk about SEO that isn't just trying to flog me some sort of SEO subscription and is going to blind me with science. Because, you get the sense that you're somebody who will talk at a level that understands and is able to pitch stuff in language we would understand. So I think having people like that around you, people you can trust, is imperative. So that's one of the first things. So have mentors, have people who will help you with stuff. a big mistake a lot of people get is not to find a good accountant. There's tons of accountants out there, as there's tons of brokers, yeah, as there's tons of SEO people. The point is finding somebody that one fits with you, because of course, you know, people buy people, so we want to work with people that we like and trust. But secondly, find people that you can get you know, probably recommended. You know, do they do the job? Are they proactive? If you ask them for information, will they send it to you quickly? Do they understand your business? When I've always made a key point of having a good finance person around me, because they'll help me save money in tax. They'll I'm not saying they'll bend the rules a little bit sometimes. We all know that sometimes with accountants, they don't want to put certain things in certain boxes. But it's really helpful if they'll help you do that a little bit, because, again, we're all trying to make a buck, you know. And I don't know about you, but most of the clients I speak to, you know, margins are getting harder and harder. So they've got to try and find a little bit of extra where they can. So I would say have a good accountant, have somebody you trust and like, and know that they're going to respond. That you're not just somebody that they talk to once a year when it comes around to doing your tax return.
If anybody's had my business consultancy, so I know Sonny will definitely agree to this one. That's pretty much the first things that I recommended. So Sonny changed his accountant because of me. And
well, there you go. And I promise you, yeah, I wasn't teed up to say that,
no,
but it's just, yeah,
it is really important. So it's like just seeing your account once a year isn't good enough. They should be knowing what your finances are every single month. They should know what you're turning over, what type of work you've got, which is the most profitable, what things you should be targeting on. If you've got any leakage, you should be able to advise you of what potential expenditure might be coming in soon, because you might have a VAT bill or a tax bill. They should be keeping you aware at all time for that. But again, is that something where, because I appreciate you deal with hundreds of people a month in terms of your customers. Is there any type of common trends that you see within what dealings you've got with them?
Yeah, I mean, the common theme really is cash flow. Yeah, we all have times where we need capital for growth, but good cash flow is more important than profit, which might sound bizarre, but you know how it is. You might be a profitable business, but there might be times you can guarantee your big VAT bill is going to come at the worst time, when you've probably just had a load of work or a load of expenditure that you've just had to just go and buy a load of equipment or stock or whatever it is you're doing. And then, you know, I'm constantly on a daily basis talking to people who've made the big mistake of they leave it, try and pretend that the problem isn't there, even though they know it's looming. They get to a point where suddenly they just literally don't have enough money, and then they panic and they go and get a loan. And invariably, if you get a loan at the last minute, it's going to be from a short-term loan company that is expensive. And they haven't addressed the situation. And there's tons of other ways to do it. So I find a lot of the time is how to smooth out best your income. You know, it's like HMRC. We've just October is a classic month where people have got to pay taxes, and you know, you don't need to. Yes, you might have the money ready, but that might be working capital as well that you need. So instead of doing that, work out, would it be better to spread the cost? It might cost you a little bit to do it, but there are companies that will actually help you spread over the year your taxes, for instance. So it's not that sudden massive hit, because I guarantee within, as soon as you paid a massive bill and it leaves a big dent in your account, you're suddenly going to have something else happen that you go, oh my god, I wish I had that. I wish I had that extra cash right now.
Well, because the area that you're in is an area that I've got no knowledge of whatsoever. What type of products are they available then to help people either from having capital to start a business, to run a business, to scale a business, or also around cash flow? Because, like I said, it's not something that I know about. It's something I want to know a lot more about. So I'd like to understand what the products are and what they do.
Yeah, I mean, there's dozens of products. By the way, I'm going to in the chat. I've just put up a little mini brochure about me, but in there I talk about the different types of finance. But the four things that come up consistently: HMRC, so paying the tax man, product, of course, getting stock in, making sure you've got enough stock, late payments. I don't know what you guys, like getting paid from clients, particularly if it's businesses. I don't know, if it's the insurance or industry or anything, but if they're late paying you, that can cause huge problems. I've got 3 customers at the moment who are really successful. They're seeing really strong double-digit growth almost month on month, but they're constantly struggling for cash because their key clients don't pay them. But they don't need to bring in a full invoicing company to actually handle all their invoicing. They can do selective, so they can just get their invoices paid straight away, and they only pay a small amount per month until they get paid. It just means that they've got their money constantly moving, and it means then somebody comes and knocks on the door and says, oh, by the way, I've got this stock, you can have it for half price, but I need paying now. They've got liquidity to keep the money going. And the fourth thing that I see is, of course, in most businesses, we're trying to keep ahead of the game. So upgrades, making sure you've got the right kind of stock. If you can suddenly paint or repair cars 20% quicker because you've got better equipment or better premises or any of that stuff, of course, you need money to do it. So they're the 4 key things, but there's literally dozens of different types of things, whether it's business expansion, whether it's just having a cash flow buffer. There's credit insurance, merchant cash advances. That's where if you do a lot of retail, if you get a lot of card transactions, again, you can actually borrow money and then repay it actually out of your card transactions without having to think about it. But that's a lot more retail based. So there's tons of things to think about. And then if you're doing work that is a little bit innovative or a bit different, are you entitled to R&D tax relief, for instance? A lot of companies don't realize they are. Again, I've got a whole team of people that we can look into that, costs nothing. And then if we win the money back, it's like free cash from the tax man. And then that's the only way we earn, is because we then will take a commission out of what we can find. And then, sometimes it's, I spoke to a company last week who they were really struggling. And I said, what about building? Oh, well, we own our building because we've got it as part of our pension. But they didn't realize that they didn't think of using that as an asset to help them release cash back into the business to help them grow more.
How would that work then?
So if you've got, let's say, for instance, you might have a mortgage on your office or wherever you're at, and what can happen there is that you can actually often use that. So when the lending company, little companies now that lend money will often want a personal guarantee. But if you can use leverage against your profit, if you've got £200,000 equity in the building that you're working out of, you can start to leverage that to get better rates, because the safer the lender feels, the more comfortable they will to be competitive. So it's just it's a bit generalized, but these are things that often people forget or just don't think about utilizing.
So are there any products out there that will provide finance to people that don't have securities?
So there's lots of lenders that will work with new startups. More often than not, they usually want at least 6 months trading to start with, so they can at least see you've got money going into the bank account. Because of course, if you're going to lend somebody money, you want to know that you're going to be able to get it repaid. So they want to see affordability. So affordability is key, but profitability they're not always that bothered about whether you're profitable or not. They just want to know that you've got money coming through the account that they can get their money back.
Is there any restrictions then if you're a sole trader or a limited company?
There's if you're a limited company, you've got a better range to go for, but there's still plenty that will deal with sole traders.
So if you was a startup and you're in that position, so because most of the people here have had a business that's been fairly well established, but I'm also thinking for people who might be viewing the video later on who are looking to enter the industry and want to start a business up and don't have anything. So what advice would you give them from a finance point of view then? Because most of these businesses will probably find a unit and start renting it, but obviously they'll need some type of finances to buy the equipment.
So the first thing is, I mean, I don't specialize in startups because there are a number of ways that you can actually get money. There's the British Bank that will do startup loans. You've got various grant schemes, depending on where you're based. For instance, there are grants that are often available, which are particularly if you're, somewhere like Coventry. I know that if you're in Coventry, you can get grants towards helping to grow your business. And then you've got you've got to have a plan, have a good business plan. One of the things that a lot of startups do, they have great ideas, but then their plan it falls apart too quickly. So the thing is, if you're going to approach a bank or a lender of any type, if they can see that you understand what you're doing, they're more likely to support it. But they just need to know that it's going to be generating the cash. Otherwise, it's super high risk. If you have a house that you own, then often you can put a personal guarantee against that, but not everybody wants to do that because the riskiest time to start a business is right at the beginning, of course. So, why would you put your home at risk on that? I certainly wouldn't. But, if there's other assets, so for instance, if somebody has said, look, we're prepared to lend you some equipment, all the equipment that you have, if it's, if it's something you can roll or has got wheels on or whatever, that's all assets that can be lent against.
Does that mean so if you've already paid out for the assets you've got in your business, you could loan against it and use them
Yes,
as
you can. Yeah,
security?
absolutely. Yeah.
So
I was talking to a company that does construction, and they've got a load of equipment. They've got diggers. They've got all sorts of stuff, and some of it was quite old stock, but they were able to use it all as leverage to help get a loan.
So this group here, like I said, they're all, there's some that are established, some that are kind of a little bit new, some that are very well established, and there are various stages in the journey of what they are with the business. And there's also some of them that want to look at expanding the businesses because they're doing that well. What advice would you give them, and also what products are available? So some of these businesses might want to buy more land, as an example, or put a new unit on it that could be huge.
Some advice is just to talk to somebody like me, because the reality is, think about right. There's a common trend, for instance, with dentists. There's a lot of dentists you'll see merging, coming part of the group. Same with vets. If you've got any pets, you'll see a lot of independent vets suddenly becoming part of groups. And what's happening is there's a lot of some individuals. So some of them want to actually start their own practice. So there is funding available if you are a professional. So for instance, you've got your own body shop right now, and you want to either expand it or you want to take over somebody else. You've got a competitor down the road, and you know full well if you actually took them out and you own that, you could double the money. Yeah, for instance, if you've got a plan to do that, there are lenders that will absolutely help you with that to be able to make that happen. There's people you can think about as well. Another way of expanding is thinking about your own people. So your management what if your management were to take on some of the risks? So let's say you've got 20 people work for you, and you've got some key members of staff that actually are essential to that business. They know that business just as well as you do. Offer them the opportunity to have a percentage of the business, because there are companies that will loan for management stakes into the business, and that will release equity and cash to you that you can use to either go and build and buy more, or actually just take some cash out of the business now without giving away the business, but giving ownership to some of your people.
And that is something you can do as well. So when you said about the accountant side of it and vet side of it, I was trying to bring somebody on tonight as well, a lady called Jenny, who's an accountant, who's amazing. We've had her on before. Regretfully, she couldn't make it. But in the last session we were talking about, and one thing that she's done is that I think she owns 4 different accountancy companies now that she's bought. And part of the way that she's done that is that she's found companies where people want to retire, and this could be the same in the body repair industry. And what you can do is do management buyouts, but the way you can do it is that you can actually do a management buyout with no money. The way you do it is you do it on the basis of using the profits of the business to end up paying off the debt. But still, at some point, you still need some security there, don't you, from a financial point of view, because the owners want to get paid. So if there is anybody who's looking at retiring, which you're all clearly too young for that at the moment, aside from Darren, maybe, and you're looking for an out, and that's something as well, isn't it, from a financing point of view? I've looked at the start of a business, but you also need to look at the end of it as well. The key part of running a business and doing a business plan is you need to design yourself an out, because at some point you want to retire and get out of it, and you need to make sure that it financially benefits you when you do. So
Actually, right now I'm working with who make promotional goods. They've got about 15 staff, and they're doing absolutely that. They've put together a business plan. We've pulled in a company that specialises in management buyout, and what they're looking to do is they want to go from 5 days a week down to 2, and let the guys run the business themselves. So they want to release it, but they'll probably maintain about 20% of the business, just for credibility and to make sure that they don't completely lose the plot. And it's really interesting, because they're looking for, they don't need millions. They've got a nice turnover, but it will take them at least 10 years to release the kind of cash that they're going to get out of this business that they can release now. So getting £600,000 or £700,000 now, and not waiting till they're near retirement age, while they've still got more energy, will release time for them to go and enjoy their lives more as well.
A key issue we get in the industry is that a lot of these people work for themselves. They might have a few staff, but some of them might be sole practitioners, and time is most definitely an issue for them. And the time poor, they literally struggle to spend time on the business and focus on financial planning. What advice would you give them?
People get specialists to do it. It's like one of the questions actually I was going to say, I didn't want to slow things down, but with Lee, for instance, on the SEO, I'm a sole practitioner, even though I've got the backing of a big group behind me, so I've got expertise around. I'm still running my own business. So time is the only resource that I've got to be really precious about. So, what I would do is, rather than try and do, for instance, some of the SEO myself, I'd like a specialist like Lee to do it for me, but do it for me in a way that I can afford. The thing with what I do is I don't actually charge clients a fee to go and do this, because I earn only once I actually help you get the money you need. Because yes, I do get a commission from the lending company. So the beauty of it is you can get somebody, again, it's back to work with somebody you trust, work with somebody that you know is going to actually go out there and be proactive on your behalf, but you share the plan. What's your goal? Where do you want to take this? I've got a client at the moment who have earned very little from, but we've gone through a whole plan which included moving banks, for instance. One of the things we found, he's with NatWest. NatWest has been a blocker for him because they're just not proactive. They're a typical high street, old fashioned thinking bank. And I said, get out of there. Use Alaka Bank. They'll pay you interest on your account. They'll give you cash back. They've got they've got managers who'll help you. And they're in a they're like a business to business version of Starling and those kind of guys, because they are set up to support SMEs and help them grow. Allica, ALLICA. If you are interested, let me know, because I get £100 for referring you.
I banked with NatWest, and it's like I started with them in 2014, and they said, like, right, we'll give you a business manager, and that was it. I've never spoke to them in 11 years.
Business manager, and they're proactive as well. That's interesting. They're the fastest growing company in the UK right now. But again, they're one of a breed of. There are other banks as well, to be fair. But what I like about them is that they're not just talking a great game. You see all these adverts from some of the big high street banks, and you think, well, I've never experienced that. I've never seen it. If you've ever tried to open a business account with HSBC, oh my word! I mean, I could have walked around the world twice by the time they got it open. Hopeless. You go to some of these new generational banks, and within an hour it's all sorted, and you've got stuff being posted to you. It's so yeah. It's making things, coming back to your original question, surround yourself with people and set up processes that help you make your life easier, because time it's time that's when you're going to get stressed, and you don't make good decisions when you're stressed either. So you want people around you who are not emotionally involved.
Hence one of the reasons why I do business development with people, training people on it, because having somebody come in and give you insight and creating a plan, and then you need to actually go away and action your plan and do stuff with it. Like I said, so I've been working with Sonny for quite a while now, and he's still working through things off our first session, mate, aren't you? It took that long, and it's
I've ticked off something. Yeah, I've ticked off some things on the list from about 4 years ago.
So we're getting through it. But it's the key thing with it. And one of the most important thing about business planning is that you don't need to stick to it, because you'll find things come in your life that change your direction of what you're doing. You might need to alter your plan. But having something that's a basic skeleton of what you're doing as a business. So part of what I do when I do business development is that I ask the question of, what is it you do? Because you might think you know what you're doing in terms of repairing a vehicle, but that might not be the key thing that you do. It's looking at what services you provide and who buys them. So you'll need to understand what type of person will buy that product or service from you, because also that goes into the marketing and advertising side of it, which is with the SEO. Having that within what's called alpha tags and meta tags in your content, you need to identify specific types of people that might buy your services. It could be a business that's buying your services rather than a person. And the way you'll advertise and market, to them is very, very different when you're doing your, the content on your pages. So what I explain to people is that we break it. Well, first of all, we take a holistic view. We create a business plan, break it down into elements, of which the financial side of it is a part of it. Because when you do a business plan, are you getting a small body shop or a massive one? You need to know how to fund it. What things you need in that business? Do you need loads of equipment or small parts of equipment? Are you going to rent your equipment? You might rent a booth off somebody. So understanding the financial side of it is without a doubt one of the key elements that you need to work on, understand, comprehend, get a great accountant who runs through your finances. But you need to understand all the costs related to your business. You need to understand your operational cost of what you're spending. You need to understand your break-even rate. So what you're spending relative to the amount of profit you're coming in. You need to understand your target profit rate. So are you undervaluing your time? Because one of the key things that certainly we see on the Refinishers crew, when people start saying, how much do you charge for this? The first thing that tells me is they don't understand how much it costs them to run a business. If they don't know how much they charge, they don't know how much they're spending. If you don't know how much you're spending and how much you're charging, you don't know how much profit you're making. And if you don't know how much profit you're making, you've got a hobby. You haven't got a business. So all these different elements of running a business, it's really important that you understand them. The best way of having, the best way of understanding them is having somebody coach you through that process. So when you said about the E-Myth before, Paul, that's something I refer to in every session that I do. It's a great foundation to work from. In relation to what content you just covered there, so has anybody got any questions at all for Paul around financing? Sonny, have you, Andy? I know you said about, and Josh as well. Take yourselves off mute.
Yeah, I've got one, Paul. So these new bank account companies that you mentioned, do they integrate into like accountancy software, like Xero, things like that?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and
Perfect.
I know Alica Bank definitely do.
Awesome, thank you.
Next. Josh?
Yeah, I was going to ask, so do we build a credit rate in the same way as you would an individual? So like, is it based purely on turnovers and I guess assets, or do we build up a score as well?
So all the credit reference people seem to do it slightly different. I've got a subscription to a company called Red Flag Alerts. They're a bit like a credit safe type company. Why I use it is it's good. If we were talking and you're a limited company, I can go in and I can actually look at your history and I can see, because they're obviously pulling information from your submitted company's house accounts and stuff like that. So they're able to give a guide. The answer is actually no, they don't do it quite the same as building your own profile personally, because not all people are interested in your profit level. Again, it's often sometimes down to the level of debt you're carrying is important. So if you are carrying very high levels of debt and having to service that can affect things. But the algorithms that some of these companies use are very different. So there's no one size fits all. I literally have had helped companies that are in some really profitable but in really tight cash flow, some which are really looking like if they don't get themselves out of the pickle now, they're going to be bust in 6 months. But all of them we were able to find finance for. Because there is always somebody there that will help. So it's a very different world to personal finance.
Okay.
Does
So you
that
think
I don't does that answer your question?
sort of? So I was more thinking we've been offered some funding that personally I haven't felt like I've needed. So I've turned it down because I haven't needed it, but I didn't know whether that was a bad thing and whether I should have just been taking the funding along the way to sort of build
Don't
it up.
take it. If you don't need it, don't take it. That's because you're immediately then putting a pressure on your bottom line. If you don't need the funding now, don't take it. If you think you're going to need it in the next, say, 3 months, then it's worth then having a look at it, because what you don't want to do is get to the end of the road, if that makes sense. But if you think you're going to need, or you think there's going to be a cash flow blip at some point, it's better to plan it and get it prepared. But if suddenly, I actually turned down some business recently. A guy approached me and he had 3 other brokers doing business for him. And I just said, I'm not going to get into that game because they're all knocking on your door. And I said, all these people going and talking to the lenders on your behalf, one, they're going to be falling over each other. And actually, it'll become very apparent with all the credit searches what you're doing. And it won't be beneficial to your company. And I don't want to be part of that, because it will damage your credit rating over the next 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
if you don't need it, don't take it. It might be nice to have, and it might give you a nice warm feeling, but you're paying interest on it. So it's an additional cost. Why do you know, don't take it on if you don't need it.
So just one extension on that. Sorry. So if my business plan is they don't know it yet, but there's a body shop, our main competitor, that I plan to buy out at some point.
Yeah.
How will I build? How will I build up to know that I can borrow money against buying that purchase? Is there anything I can do to aim towards that?
I can tell you, if you want a separate conversation with me, I can actually have a look at some software and background on you, and I'll tell you straight away whether you'll get it or not.
I think we need a chat. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul. I'll send you an email after this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you download my little thing, all my contact details are on the brochure in the chat.
I was going to ask you actually as well, Paul, and say that and say, like, you know, if people did want to find you, what's your website and your contacts? And
so there's two primary ways really. LinkedIn is a good way. So Paul Cranwell into LinkedIn. There's not many Paul Cranwells out there in the world, so I'm pretty easy to find. You'll be able to see a lot of my background anyway, so you'll see that some of the, you know, I've been in the advertising and marketing world for years, so I do know a lot about business development. So if you've got any ideas about how you want to, I end up getting free consultancy to most of my clients about advertising. But the other thing, I have a website called Money for Growth. That's number 4 in the middle, moneyforgrowth.co.uk. But I find 95% of people I speak to me through LinkedIn is my primary way.
Andy, have you got any questions?
Yeah. If you are hypothetically purchasing or just purchased a new premises and you wanted to move your existing business into it, and you needed a bit of a bit of funding so you can preserve your working capital and still be able to comfortably move into said new premises, but you were looking to not secure it against that premises, is there a product that might be useful?
Yeah, plenty. No problem. You know, where you don't want to, if we don't need to secure it against a premises, don't do it. You know, always de-risk yourself as much as possible, and that's what I will always look for. So, you know, it all depends on the volume and the size of the loan. But if you were wanting hundreds of thousands of pounds, then quite frankly, they're going to want bricks and mortar security against that. But you know,
what level can you get to without bricks and mortar security?
Tens of thousands of pounds.
Do you any type of product like a bridging loan?
Well, I mean, if it's a bridging loan you want, then that's one way of doing it. The only thing with a bridging loan is it's got to be usually paid within 12 to 18 months in most cases. So it's whether or not. Again, what I would say, Andy, is obviously it's very difficult. You don't want to talk about something private on the open forum. But again, I'll happily give you some free advice on that stuff if you're happy to email me or text me or whatever.
Yeah. I'll be in touch tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll put my mobile in here as well.
See, he needs the funding just to pay my fee that I'm going to invoice him today.
Yeah, that's it. You've been busy.
There you go. There's my mobile's there as well. So feel free to text me and I'll call you back or whatever.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Does anybody else got any questions at all?
Yeah, sorry, back to me. We have a plan of purchasing our own property. We're in rented property right this moment, and we don't have a time frame as per se. But at what point do I need to have a conversation with you, Paul, to put like an action plan in place of how much, equity we need to have down, and all that sort of thing?
Yes.
Well, so I'll give you a quick guide. If you're going to, I've just done one for somebody who wanted they were a factory. They wanted to buy their own factory. Generally, you'll get about 70% loan to value is on a commercial mortgage. So so the key thing is really, you can sometimes get a bit more, but generally you want a 25 to 30% deposit is what you're going to need. So if if your premises is 100,000, it won't be, but if your premises was 100,000, obviously you need 25 or 30,000 deposit. And then there are commercial mortgages out there, and some of them are really competitive. So some of them are brands that you'll be quite surprised with. So one of the brands that I do work with occasionally is probably one you know well about, but you wouldn't think of it for a commercial mortgage, which is Octopus. So, they're a company that do broker deals for us, and they do bridging and commercial loans, and they're a really nice company to work with because they've got a value system that if any of you are Octopus customers, you'll know they're bob on when it comes to their customer service and making life simple. So they make my life relatively simple, so I like dealing with them. And they've got competitive rates, but there's loads of others as well because they're not always right, and they do have quite strict criteria. So if you don't quite meet that criteria, there's nearly always somebody that will be there available to do so.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul.
So as soon as you're ready, if I can actually tell you, I can give you some numbers, just literally, if you know the value of the premises and the address, I will tell you roughly what those numbers will look like.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else got any questions for Paul at all?
I think I've got a couple of questions, but I think I'm going to pop in an email if that's okay.
Absolutely. Money's always a difficult one, and it's a private one as well, isn't it? So it's one of those things that just please feel free. Just obviously let me know we met on this forum, and we'll go from there.
Great stuff. Thank you.
So before we wind up for the evening, has anybody got any questions for me at all in terms of? So one thing that I do is, if you haven't had it already off me, I offer an hour of free coaching for business development. Generally extends to more than an hour because everybody knows I can talk for England. So if you want me to go through further things with you than you expected, I'm more than happy to. But what I also do is I expand on that, and I can either spend a full day going through a whole business plan with you, looking at your business, look at a marketing plan, looking at the profit in your business, and then also do monthly catch-ups as well. So what I'll generally do is I can do monthly or quarterlies and yearly, and we follow it through, and I hold you accountable. And again, so sorry to keep picking on Sonny, but he knows I'll spank the living daylights out of people if I don't do what I want them to do. If you've got a plan, you need to follow it through, and it's that taking action that is key to it as well. So it's all well and good having a plan, but if you don't do anything with it, there's no point having it. So having a plan and then holding yourself accountable to it, or having somebody else hold you accountable to it, it means you start progressing. And the more you start progressing, the more profit you'll make, and the more profit you make provides more opportunities to invest back in your business again. And at the start, you might not be able to afford professionals to help you on certain things, like on the SEO side of it, or the financing side of it, or in my services. But working efficiently and being educated on running a business will help you grow a lot quicker and get to where you want to be a lot quicker. So, right, well, if you've not got any further questions, thank you, Lee, for your session, and thank you, Paul, for you as well. It's been a pleasure having you both on the evening. It is a recorded session, so we'll be uploading it to YouTube. So the Refinishers crew probably tomorrow or Monday when I've done that. And I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Tim.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Tim.